Well, good afternoon. You've heard from a number of people who want to express what most of us get to deal with, and that is fighting a fight that must be won and that we cannot lose. And so as I want to encourage you a little bit today, I want to say thank you for your work. Thank you for all that you do. Do not grow weary in well-doing. It is important that you continue to speak up. So today I'm going to ask you to do two things. I'm going to ask you to speak up and kneel down. Because if we are willing to speak up in the face of atrocities that sometimes are too horrible to even mention, then what happens is it starts to gain the attention. But if we are not willing to do that, because it's not politically correct, or perhaps we've seen so much that we turn a blind eye, or this is not a big deal compared to everything else, what happens is the enemy starts to win. And so I'm here to encourage you to speak up. But I'm also here to encourage you to kneel down and pray for our nation, pray for our country, and indeed pray for those who are being persecuted even at this very hour. Because there's too many true stories that are out there about the persecuted church. And the fact that we take it just as a normal way of life. I found it very troubling that we had a very difficult time even to call it genocide when we had Christians being killed on a daily basis, and yet we drug our feet to even give a genocide designation. And that wouldn't have happened without activists like you, without people making sure that the message is heard. So I need you to speak up and make sure that if you cannot make them see the light, that they need to feel the heat. And if you will do that, members of Congress will work, other groups will come together, and the resources will be there to make sure that the persecuted church is protected because of perhaps just the voice of one person willing to speak up. Now I say that because I'm one of many people that will get to address you today. You've heard Frank Wolf's name mentioned. I see Joe Pitts out there, Congressman Chris Smith. Those were the heroes of the faith who have been carrying the banner over and over. In fact, many times hold hearings on such a regular basis that people say, well, it is not another hearing on a persecuted people. And yet what happens is if we do not continue to speak up, it will be forgotten. If we do not continue to keep it in the headlines each and every day, then indeed it will not get addressed. So I'm here to encourage you to continue to speak up, continue to kneel down and pray for our country, and pray for boldness. For yourself, for members of Congress, for decision makers to be bold enough to be able to say enough is enough. Because we've come to accept it. We've come to accept that a little bit of horrific headline making, awful atrocities are okay. If we can just cut it back just a little bit, and yet what we've done is we've missed the underlying message. If we're willing to tolerate it for even one, then what happens is it's like a cancer, it becomes contagious. It infects the entire body, and so what we need to do is make sure that we stand up. And we've had some successes, but we've had far more, many defeats. So I'm here to ask you to continue to pray, because without the power of prayer, the actions will availeth nothing. And so as a persecuted church cries out for help, and Christians across the Middle East cry out and say, where is my help? Make sure that it comes from the beacon of hope and freedom and religious liberty that this country has represented for well over 200 years. Because you know that religious freedom that we enjoy here is under attack as well. And how is it under attack? They're wanting you to be silent. They're wanting you to not speak out. It's not politically correct, to talk about politics or religion, so everywhere I go, I do both. We must speak up. So I will close with this. Esther was given a charge to save the Jewish people many years ago. A great potential personal cost, because if she goes uninvited into the king, indeed her very life would be at risk. And yet, as she was encouraged to go ahead and do that, Mordecai was saying that you need to make sure that you're a voice for our people, but if you are not, the help will come from somewhere else. And I'm here to tell you that the help for the persecuted Christians in the Middle East will come. It will happen. And I guess the question I have for each one of you, are you willing to put it all on the line? Are you willing to risk your life? Are you willing to risk everything on behalf of someone perhaps that you'll never meet in order to stand up for religious liberty? To stand up for a Christian faith that is disappearing far too quickly? And if you are, and I believe that you are, I will be honored to stand with you and speak up and kneel down. For such a time as this, we have been called to intervene on behalf of our brothers. God bless you. Thank you so much.